Hi, this is Dorothy with Scrapbooking and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is the Good Life papers. It's brand new paper from close to my heart, and this is what I did with it with my first try of using the paper and also of our new pattern book, Make It From Your Heart Volume 6. So I'm using flip flaps, I'm using half pages for additional pictures, and I'm using the pattern. And so I've got little hidden gems that we found here, and there's hidden gems on this page too. So watch how I make it. Hi, this is Dorothy with Scrapbooking, and we are going to work for the first time from Make It From Your Heart Volume 6. So this is our brand new volume. And I was going through some of these pictures that are kind of piling up on me, and I found this trip that my husband and I made to Midland, Texas. And so we're driving a bunch of small roads heading out to West Texas, and we came across this monument to the Texas Central Railway. And so we decided to stop and take a bunch of pictures. And then Close to My Heart came out with the papers that just kind of scream Texas, or probably any Midwest state that has a lot of farming. So these are the papers that, let's see, it is the Good Life papers. And here is the sticker sheet that has all these fun stickers, and here's a windmill. And I got the papers, the cardstock that goes with these papers. And so there's Harbor. Let me show you. So we've got espresso, French vanilla, harbor, mist, mocha, and toffee. So here are the colors of the cardstock. So this is kind of chaotic right now. Here's the French vanilla and the mocha and harbor. And so I am going to put these aside and bring out the main papers. Goodness gracious, I have made the biggest mess. You cannot imagine. Okay, so here they are. I've already cut off the zip strips. And we have this really rustic toffee and French vanilla with a, God, that does not look real masculine, a little gingham. So here's the gingham, and here is the zip strip. It's a bunch of trucks, kind of old-fashioned trucks, super cute. And then we've got this paper, and then we've got a dot pattern on the back. So I'm going to be using some of that. And then here's the star of the show, this wonderful, it's a ledger paper with all sorts of writing and stuff, and it's got these windmills on there, which I'll show you why I like the windmills so much. I try to move. My goodness, this is just crazy. I have got such a mess going. Okay, here are the die cuts that come with the Good Life. So it's wood look, and they've got this windmill and barns and barn doors and some titles here: Amazing Memories, You and Me, adorable fences. I love these fences. I love the split rail fences. So I might be using some of those. And the reason why I like those windmills so much is because I just happened to shoot some of these Texas wildflowers, which I'll be cutting up. And look at this wonderful tree against this old farm fence. And there's the road that we were on. And here is some of the railroad cars. And I mean, they really have them nicely painted. But I'm going to be doing a bunch of flip-flaps here, so that's why I've got them going up and down. And I took close-ups because railroad cars, they're just so big. I mean, but look at the size of these springs. I mean, so you just have to kind of, you know, appreciate the fact that these everything is so big. So here are all the connectors for the cars. And I mean, everything is gigantic. There's no way that my puny little hands could do this kind of work. So what do we have here? Okay, so on one side of the road, see, here's the Texas Central, and here is the roadside marker that was next to it. So anyway, I just thought that was neat, and I liked this. I took a horizontal and vertical shot of that, but I do like it with the tree. But of course, right behind all these wood fences, these farm fences, was this wonderful picture of the old windmill. And then across the street were these these windmills, another kind of windmill. And I thought, oh man, look at the contrast. So I just had to take pictures of both of those. This is a beautiful shape. So anyway, this is the layout that I'm going to use, and I may make some subtle changes here and there to kind of be able to make the most out of this particular sheet. So anywho, I am going to go ahead and start, and I've started cutting some of the pieces. So we're going to use 2 of the zip strips, and I just love these kind of fences. So we're going to use those 2 zip strips, and this is that striped paper with the dot on the back side. This is going to be this cross piece that goes all along here, and that is D. So D and J and E and K. This is E and K. They're the 1/2-inch pieces. So if you come down here, you look, and there's E and K, and they're 1/2 by 12. So the zip strip is perfect for that. And then this is D and J are 2.5 inches by 12 inches. So they're cut and ready to go. Okay, so this next part I speeded it up 200%. So this entire thing took me an hour to do. So what I did here is I cut the windmill paper, I cut it down to 6 inches, 6 by 12. So I'll use one on one side and one on the other. And then my galvanized metal stripe, the rusted galvanized metal, I decided that's what it looks like, is going to be that centerpiece with that wonderful fence zip strip on top. And so the smaller windmill, or the windmill that's further away, is going to go on the right-hand side. So I'll still get some, some of the same elements from the left-hand side on the right-hand side. So the other papers that I'm using the Mocha and the Harbor. I've cut into various size pieces. So that one is going to be a banner going down long ways on the right-hand sheet. So I'm just going to cut a big banner, cut into it pretty deep. And this is 3 inches wide. So I did trim it off. I took about 3/4 of an inch off of the top so that the background papers would show through. Now that the banner is going to take some of the 3x4 pictures. So we'll see that a little bit later. So I'm going to go ahead and just start sticking down my pieces. Excuse me. Right up to the edge. And then we've got the banner, and the wood look is going to go, I thought that the blue went first in between there. So the harbor is going to go, like I said, that's about 3/4 of an inch. And so we've got the background paper, the mist blue, is, since it's the carrier sheet for the others, it is going to stick out. So that's 6 and 7, 8. So it's about 3.5 to 4 inches. And the rusted metal, galvanized metal, is going to be up like 2 3/4 of an inch up from the bottom. And there's my fence that I love so much. And instead of measuring, I am going to put the papers right up next to each other to make sure that the stripe going across matches. So we've got our windmill paper it's the ledger paper with all sorts of writing and stuff, and it looks like somebody was drawing the windmill, and it's very cool paper. Just making sure I've got the right side going. And I think I used the lighter side of the harbor. The harbor is super deep color. So when you line up, if you've got something that matches from side to side, you want to line up your pieces and make sure that you get them just lined up to each other. So that is going to be, better than oop. There we go. So they're both the zip strip and the striper matched up. So there's the banner cut that I made. And see, there's a little bit of space up at the top on that. That's why I went ahead and cut it down a little bit. Maybe 3/4 of an inch. 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. So I really needed to pull back on my camera. I apologize there. I don't know what I was thinking. Anyway. Random happy birthday there. So that is going to go, how all those things, they go so nicely together. So I'm going to go ahead and cut down some of these pictures. The wildflowers are typical Texas. I mean, sometimes you get a lot of weed growth that kind of turns into hay, so it kind of takes away from the pretty color a little bit. So I'll just cut those down so you can see that there's, wildflowers were out in the field surrounding all this. And I'm just going to put some of my photo placeholders here to just kind of get an idea of exactly where to place everything. In the 3x4, that is going to be one of the wildflowers cut down. So it's just kind of, and so the layout shows 3 3x4s going top to bottom. So like I said, these, you don't have to follow anything exactly. You do things according to what works for your pictures and your layout. So I ended up just using 2 3x4s there, and I put them vertically instead of horizontally. And that worked out fine. Now the other thing that I have here are the die cuts that go with this paper. And so I know that I'm definitely going to use the windmill. I have to, right? Just absolutely have to. And I love the fences. I like this little split rail fence. And those fences right there go perfectly with the zip strips. So I have to use one of those. absolutely have to. And the rest of them will go for other layouts. So I'm just trying to think, okay, how do I want to, I keep on referring back to, this is actually, let me just tell you, this is pattern 17. So I'm kind of keeping it open to kind of keep an eye on where placement is. Once again, it's up to you how you want to do this. And somehow I disappeared and here I am. Okay, so I used the mocha and cut it down to 6 1/4 by 4 1/4 to just have an itty bitty edge and a 1/16 of an inch edge around the pictures. I just wanted a little bit of an edge. And I'm using a flip flap on my railroad car and the the plaque talking about this particular historical site. What I did was I went out on the internet and I looked up the historical site and I got the inscription of it. And I went ahead and printed it out to go on the other side so you could see the inscription and what this was all about. It's a little bit hard to read on my photograph. But this is a site where cattle were, they had cattle drives, and the cattle were driven to this area where they were loaded onto cattle cars. And so this was a very important site for all of the Texas ranchers, to bring their cattle and then carry it to market. So this is kind of a farm to market kind of endeavor here. And so once again I have the mocha background, and I'll put another picture there. But that's the flip flap. I end up thinking I'm going to use a whole bunch of flip flaps because I've got a whole bunch of pictures, and I kind of went crazy because the car was so accessible. And normally I don't get this close to a railroad car sitting in the middle of, just this little area. And so I took advantage of it and took a lot of close-ups. I took a close-up of all the gears and the latches, and, in this case, got some interesting shots of the fencing for the cattle car. And I thought I would just make a whole bunch of flip-flaps. But I had enough pictures that it was going to be kind of thick with the flip-flaps. But anywho, so there's my wildflowers. So I know that I'm going to cut them down to 3 by 4 and put them in a couple of little places just to show Texas. It's definitely part of the Texas. If you don't have a whole lot of mountains in such a big state, you gotta find beauty where you can, and Texas does have a lot of wildflowers. So there we have tree and the modern windmills making energy for us. So there's a good longitudinal, a long ways shot. So I put that there. Somehow I missed doing some recording here. But anyway, so that went under the railroad car, or will go. I haven't stuck it down yet. So I'm putting my banner down. And I cut down that wildflower. So I really like those strong spikes of the purple color. And I put that railroad car there, but I don't think I put it down, do I? Maybe I do. That was just kind of an artistic shot for the heck of it, kind of a close-up. And there's the inscription that I went ahead and printed out just so that it would be easy to read. And, it's just talking about how You know, this was on Ella Matthews, or Rose Ella Matthews ranch. And when they came up with this idea, then she put up fencing, and probably the windmill was to pull water for the cattle to drink while they were, you know, before they got loaded on. And so I went ahead, and there's the US 180 that we traveled to happen to see this. We didn't take, it's kind of fun to not take interstates a lot of times, so you get to see these fun historical places along the US highways. So this is a very straight shot from Midland to the Metroplex of Fort Worth and Dallas. So we decided to take US 180. And I loved I loved the contrast between the modern windmill and the old-timey windmill. And these were right across the street. That's just not a random picture that I pulled. It was across the street. I made a little background for my inscription stuff, just so it stuck out from the back of the background paper. And that's going to go on the ledger paper. So that's going to be the little surprise behind the two flip-flaps I'm putting here. So, I mean, in that shot of the road, you can see how straight it is. So I guess that's the upside to Texas, is that you can make very straight roads. And I put this down, but when I put the other one down, it was a little bit over, so I had to pull it up. I wasn't thinking ahead of time, but it was flapping over the edge of the paper, and I didn't want that. So here I have to adjust it because I have to move that over to make sure and I didn't line it up. So, scooching down just a tad to try to do a better job of lining it up. So there we've got that, and I like having the two kinds of windmills showing just for a contrast between then and now. And I'm going, I don't know what I'm doing. It's like, okay, what do we have here? So I decided that maybe I was having too many flip-flaps. And so I thought, oh man, I know what I can do is we've got these great half pages that, as you see, they've got the holes in them so they can fit into your D-ring binder. And I decided, instead of having a real thick group of flip-flaps that I couldn't really make a waterfall out of because I didn't have space on the page, that I would use this instead. And so this was a perfect use of these half pages. Because when you have a lot of photos and you don't want to leave them out, this is the perfect thing to use. So I can actually put in, so I made kind of like a little fancy page to go at the top, a little insert, and I decided, well, be grateful, and then, what is that? I think it says farm to table. So, and the be grateful is for food, because I am always grateful for food. And this is kind of where the whole idea of farm to market, they were, making it happen faster as the populations were growing in the early 1900s in Texas, in the metroplexes, which weren't metroplexes yet. I mean, Fort Worth was a fort. Okay, so here are the various pieces, including that's a big latch that latches the cars one to another. And I was just struck by the size of all the pieces, all the gears and everything else that are on these trains. And they're huge. They're just huge. And I think there is, I could not be doing these, cars and with all the gears that are necessary to latch and unlatch the cars from each other. It's just, I don't know, you have to appreciate other people's work. And, these men, I'm sure, mostly, probably 99.9%, worked these railway depots to bring the food to market. And it's a lot of heavy, heavy work, to say nothing of the cowboys doing the cattle drives. And thank you to the cattle, by the way. So I just, artistically and interest-wise, I was taking a lot of pictures of the gears and the wheels and the springs. Dear heavens, those springs are massive. So that was, there's no people pictures here. But this is also interesting, I think. So that is going to be my journaling card. And I decided I'm going to put it down here. It actually shows on the other side, but that was a good place to put it. And I'm going to end up putting those fences around. And then the windmill, I definitely wanted to have my windmill. And I'm popping up the windmill a little bit with just the, my foam tape was too thick, too wide. So I'm just using the little foam dots. And, if they hang over a tad, I'm not going to worry about it too much. As it turned out, they didn't show up much at all. And so I'm just kind of pulling the backings off and then pressing them in place to just kind of make, and these are the thin foam dots. And actually, I don't even think that I don't think we're carrying those anymore, but I have a whole bunch that I'll continue to use. So there we go. And you could put little pieces of the strip foam tape, double stick foam tape, if you wanted to. There we go. So that's going to make it pop up just enough. So kind of the windmill. It's just so iconic country, isn't it? So I hope, this is not something I normally do. You normally just see me making the pages or the cards without putting photos on there. But, these photos have been sitting staring at me for a long time now. And I've been kind of gathering them up and figuring out, okay, which are going to go together. How am I going to do this? What am I going to do with it? And then I thought, well, I've got my new book, so let's go through and pick out a layout that looks like would work with these photos. So I decided, okay, this is what I need to do, is just kind of do a layout with just those photos. And it doesn't really matter that, that there aren't pictures of Jim and I in here. So there's my little fence down there. I liked having him on there. And I'm trying to decide. So I went out, I was looking for this is a serif thin cut that I believe we still carry it. Anyway, I decided to call this Hidden Gems of Texas. And thought, well, I hope I'm not being misleading, because these aren't gems. I think I'd go to Arizona if I was looking for gems. But, this is a gem. This is our history. And, it is a gem to find this. And I certainly enjoyed taking the modern day and the old-timey windmill pictures. I like taking, the pictures of all the gears. Don't know what that says about me. But I decided to use the little, I wanted something other than just cardstock. So I'm using the backside of the galvanized metal paper. So the mocha dot pattern. And it sticks out nicely from the background. And I really liked the fact that at first I wanted just the stripes to show, like on Texas. But then I thought, well, it's kind of hard to read on that background. But I did it in Texas just because it's on the cardstock background and with no interference from lines and stuff. So I'm just putting this down with the liquid Tombow, and I'm using that thicker edge, which I kind of like it, to tell you the truth. So, and there's my of. Get that down. And then I'm going to put Texas on a curve to kind of mimic the windmill shape of the blades. And that was my thought. So this is kind of, without having to think everything through before I do it, it just kind of starts telling you what to do. I know that sounds silly, but sometimes your layout or your pictures kinds of leads you in a direction. And so, be aware and follow what it's telling you. I mean, I hope this works out. I hope you think it works out okay. I ended up liking it. Okay, and here's my last letter. So there we go. And I kind of decide that looks kind of empty under there. Kind of empty. Anyway, that's a cute little, there we go. That's exactly what it needed. That's a cute alphabet thin cut for making titles, and they're not so huge, and this one couldn't have taken the really big letters, so you can have more words on your title with the smaller letters. So I like this little, I've used this alphabet before. It's a serif alphabet. So this is the whole idea. Now I'm going to back away. And everything's all wonky. My camera's wonky. My background is wonky. So there's my layout. There's my layout. We've got flip-flaps here. That's on there solid. The windmills on there solid. These two pictures are on there. And then we've got the flip-flap there. And there I've got my inscription talking about it. And, the neat thing is I've got a brown pen. This is on Highway US 180. So I'll put the rest of it down there later. And then we've got the gears and the springs. And I had to use that little truck because it's iconic in Texas, a pickup truck, especially on a ranch. So, and there's my half sheet flap in there. So that's going to go right in between those two pages and flip around to give more picture coverage. So I liked the way there's my thin cuts. Good little alphabet to get, very handy. And volume 6, Make It From Your Heart, and it's pattern 17. So this is the first pattern I've used from the brand new book, and I'm really happy with it. And I'm really happy I finally got these pictures down in a meaningful space. So there we go. And I hope you like this. Let me know whether you like it or not. I'd love to get a thumbs up. And everybody take care. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dorothy Smith. Thanks for watching my video. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel and learn along with me. Thanks. Bye-bye.